as they walk down the street. They just throw it in the garbage. But what we teach you is how to think about LinkedIn differently, how to build genuine relationships with strategic connections through direct message. So you don't start with a sales message. You have to build a genuine relationship with your connections. And that's what we're going to get into.
So think about how people are viewing you when you're direct messaging them, right? So if Tammy direct messages me, I could think, okay, maybe she's an expert in the field. Maybe she's a trusted advisor. Maybe she's a vendor. Maybe she's a salesperson. Maybe she's, people think of you as something. What do people think of you? I want you get into the shoes of your connection. What are people thinking of you right now? I'll tell you the way people think of me. And Tammy, you can tell me the way you think people think of you. The way that people think of me is I'm a LinkedIn speaker. I'm an influencer on LinkedIn. I'm a CEO. I'm a strategist. People look at me as a giver because I'm always giving content. I'm always making introductions. I'm always helping people out. So when I direct message somebody, I'm already there as the expert in the field / trusted advisor. They're not looking at me.
And that's because you have built that persona through how you post and engage on LinkedIn. That's why people think of you that way. And how you engage, how you interact, you're providing value. You're making connections for people. You're making referrals and introductions. So that's how you built that persona on LinkedIn.
So Tammy, how do people view you?
Well, and then I want to go to Maria says, I never say I'm following up because I don't want to assume that they did not, that they actually read my message. And yes, you don't have to say you're following up, but still the act of following up, whether or not you say you're following up, is crucial. So just checking in with them again.
Okay, cool. By the way, how do you feel when you see a clown?
Scared. Next slide, please.
How many people did you reach out to this year? When I ask people this and they say, well, I'm not getting on enough phone calls, I say, how many people did you reach out to? Most people said that they haven't even reached out to 250 people in the past year. And the reason why you're not getting results is because you're actually not reaching out. So here's Amanda. And Amanda sent me several messages before I actually got on the phone with her to have a conversation. And after sending me, I think it was 6 or 7 messages and not assuming that I didn't get it, she finally got an appointment with me. So if you want to get an appointment with a qualified lead, you have to realize that you need to follow up many times.
So Charles said, ask permission to follow up. And that works if you're already having a conversation with them, right? That works for if you're following up on a proposal that you sent and things like that. But if they've never responded to you on LinkedIn, asking permission to follow up, they're also not going to respond to that. So that's the hardest part of direct messaging on LinkedIn, is that initial part, getting them to even start talking to you. And there's no point in asking permission to follow up at that point because they're not talking to you. So we have a strategy to get them to respond to you.
So one of the things that most people do not do is send people voice notes on LinkedIn. So using your mobile phone, I would recommend sending a person a voice note that's 10 seconds or so. So that's something that really stands out. Have you used voice notes? Yes or no? Have you sent a voice note to your connections? Yes or no in the chat? Let me know.
Yeah, someone also asked about video messages. Love it. Be creative. All the different ways. Text, video, audio.
Remember, you can only do those things from your cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to remind people that you can only do that from your cell phone. Using a podcast strategy is an easy way to get somebody on a phone for you to interview them. So I wanted to have a conversation with somebody recently who was an influencer that had tens of thousands of connections on LinkedIn. It was hard for me to get the person on the phone. And then I said, I would love to interview you for my podcast. Everybody wants to get PR, even people who are super busy. If you don't have a podcast, you can actually interview them for an article that you're writing or for a post or even just for research. People love to get interviewed. Now, I'm going to give you guys a quick hack because...
Where does that fit into the strategy, Joe? Is that in the feeding stage?
That's in the feeding stage, yeah. So you're asking them if they want to get on a podcast or something like that after you greet them. But I'm going to get...
Do you want to review greeting, feeding, meeting? Or?
I will after this quick hack. So I wanted to throw in a quick hack first. If you want to get on 3,000 networking meetings with people on LinkedIn that are second-degree connections, all you have to do is search Calendly on LinkedIn for people in your second degree. I'm curious to know how many results will come up. And then you can literally just click on people's Calendly links and set yourself up an appointment. And you can say, it looks like we have a few mutual connections. I decided to set up a meeting with you to learn more about what you're doing, to tell you about what I'm doing, and to see if there's a way that we can do business together.
Does this find people who have their Calendly link in their About section?
Yes, yes. It's so easy to do. Now, I have over 100 people that have their Calendly in their About section that I'm already connected to. So I can set up, if I want to set up 20 meetings a week, I got my month full already. I could fill up my whole month for the next several months. I can fill myself up with booked meetings.
And luckily your connections, because you have been strategically adding connections, those connections that do have their Calendly links in, they're already strategic leads for you. So it's not like you're just wasting time with a random person.
Jennifer asked a good question.
This answers Tom's question. Though Tom asked, how do you feel about using Calendly and allowing someone to pick their time slot? Obviously, yes. You know, that's a great way to do it.
Jennifer, I thought you finished. Jennifer said, don't people get mad when strangers are setting up appointments with them? Not if there's context. They know, they put their link. I'll give you an example. If somebody puts their cell phone number, right? If you type in, let's say, for example, what's your area code? Put in your area code in the chat. If somebody puts in their cell phone number, for example, 917, or Wendy puts 832, or Jennifer puts 773. If somebody puts their cell phone number here and I call somebody's cell phone or I send them a text, do you think they're going to get mad if a stranger sent them a called them from their LinkedIn? If I call Menachem right now and I say, hey, Menachem, I noticed your cell phone number on your LinkedIn profile. I'll be like, yeah, what's up? I noticed that you do realty, blah, blah, blah. Tell me more about who you're talking about.
They put it out there, so they definitely want you to use it. It actually will, and if you tell them that that's how you found, like, oh, I found your Calendly link on your About Me, that provides valuable feedback to them that their strategy is working. They'll actually be very happy that you did it.
So people often ask, how do I begin a conversation? This was Tammy was alluding to. Tammy's like, hang on a second. How do I even begin a conversation? Like, why are we taking me into the middle of the conversation when I don't even know how to begin?
Right. Why am I asking people to for an interview when they're not even responding to me yet?
Exactly. So first of all, put a $sign in the chat if you guys got value so far, because we started with heavy philosophy, because I know a lot of people have mindset issues around DMs, but now we're going to get into very specific scripts and tactics. So put a $sign if you got value so far from the philosophy, so Tammy can see and everybody can see that, like, oh my gosh, there was a lot of value here so far, because often people just want tactic, but they don't realize you can have all the tactics you want in the world. If your mindset is not set up correctly, it's 80% mindset, 20% skill set. Now I'm going to teach you the skills. In the next 5 or 10 minutes, I'm going to teach you some things. So sit tight, listen up, and hopefully you'll put some of this stuff into practice. So
do you have a stages slide? David's asking for a stages slide. I'm not sure what that means.
You could always email us, David, to info@evergreen.com, and we'll send you anything that you need. So the first step is greeting. So how do you start a conversation in real life without being super awkward? How do you start a conversation in real life without being super awkward? How do you greet people on LinkedIn without being super awkward? Most people, they're super annoying. They'll start with, how are you? Let me tell you something. Don't say, how are you, to somebody that you don't know really, really well, that you don't have a real good relationship. Okay? If you don't have a really good relationship, he wants our signature solution. It's on evergreen.com. So somebody put a link to www.evergreen.com for David, and he'll be able to find it there. So if you don't say, how are you, because it's just wasting people's time. There's somebody that's kind of like doesn't know